extra thick. Excellent!
The last chapter of Criminal Border finally came out here. It's by the same guy that wrote for pretty much all of Silky plus Wasabi stuff like Ananato or Kimiko to Temptation. I'm pretty sure he also did like the 99 titles too, but I never checked it out. Criminal Border is 4 chapters long and they range from like 3 to 6 hours each to finish. I really liked the first one and how things were getting set up, but it didn't really land where I wanted it to, and I guess that's what I'll be talking about later on in the spoilers. The base of it is pretty simple. The main protag is Itsuki. He's a massive loser and has nothing to go on with him. No friends or even barely acquaintances, no social hobbies, even his parents don't really like him, but that's not really his fault, it's more on them. Doesn't do great in school, no job, and I don't remember if he had any hobbies outside of like anime and stuff like that. He makes random AMVs and gets no views, I think it's like single digit or some shit. His PC's really shit, so it's rendering fucks up here and there, and that's pretty funny because it happens to me too a long time ago. But in that process, he accidentally makes a video that forces people to go to like some super horny frenzy. So he calls Rin his estranged childhood friend that just kind of shits on him a lot. And it's like, hey, go watch this AMV that I made for like some action or for some revenge or some shit like that. Except I forgot if he chickens out or I think he's like, it's too scummy. And I'm pretty sure it's more on the former, but a little bit on the latter. She gets interested in the video and offers him to join her team that's doing some other like rental services from what I remember. But it's basically just a prostitution ring with no pimp. Rin handles the finances and the background tasks while her friend handles the social aspects and manager type of stuff. And that's Hina, one of the few acquaintances that Itsuki actually has, which is not even a thing, because all it's like, hey, they say like good morning sometimes, like that's all they have. So they test out the video, shenanigans happen, they set up the screening times and get money that way. And at this point, nothing the video has would be considered illegal, so that's the title, on the border of being criminals, criminal border, haha, right? And each title is like progressively skating on the edge between legal and not. And I don't agree with chapter 4 being called life sentence, but that's because it opens up to be nagged out all the other chapters as well. Technically they're already screwed at the first chapter, but specifically referring to the aspect that Rin and Itsuki could leave without issue, but even then that's gradually less realistic to the point that's not even that far into chapter 2 where it's like that's not really a thing you can do anymore. And if it was talking about like the virtual drug, then it's already over by chapter 3, and that's even ignoring it being adjacent to other stuff that's already happening. You're technically kind of like accomplices. You can't really do shit, you're screwed. It's more that by the end they get checked, so it's like you're just fucked. Otherwise no one knew yet. So you can call chapter 3 like, hey, cross the border or like over the line or some shit, and it'll work. And it's like everything's pedantic. I just don't know why you have to change the last chapter to something else when all these chapters could have been called something. Anyways, that's basically what the plot entails. Itsuki makes his video, they want to make money through it, he gets dragged into it and actually makes some friends and socializes with them. Like, hey, he's becoming more of a person, I guess. And it changes for the better until shit hits the fan every so often. They have to figure out how to fix it. So like in one hand, it's like, yeah, he's doing illegal shit or borderline illegal shit. And the other one's like, hey, he's not being a total loser anymore, which is really weird to say. A lot of the minor characters didn't get as much attention as they should. Even a good chunk of the cast isn't all that amazing outside of like the Yorozuwa siblings and Itsuki. Hina is bubbly, but gets shit done. She's more of a people person that doesn't let them get too close to her. Tatsuya is the classy, like, broody guy. People try to avoid him, but he's a pretty decent dude when you actually spend time with them. I think the best scenes with Itsuki is when, like, Tatsuya is around. I wouldn't say Tatsuya carries the title, but it's great when the front character isn't, like, the usual goofball. I think they kind of dropped the ball with Hina later on, but I'll talk about that later. I get what they're going for, and it works, but it's not all that impactful either. And for Itsuki, it's more about his growth and his interaction with others. Him alone isn't all that interesting if you plop him to like a different title. But that's fine considering this title is a lot more like down to earth. There's still a bit where it's just better not to think about it, but you can also explain it away. It's more of an instance of, hey, that works, but they'd have a lot more stable results this other way. Why did you even pick this risky way, right? That kind of thing. On chapter 2 and forwards, they start putting like this hook at the start where it's like, hey, something that'll happen later on and you'll see how it leads to it. And it's fine the first time, but it overstays its welcome on the last chapter. It's just kind of annoying, especially that it's almost at the end of the title this time around. The art and the H scenes felt like it was degrading after like chapter 2. Not degrading as like, oh, it's nasty, degrading as like it's getting worse. Part of it was the quality of some scenes, but I'm sure the main aspect is I don't really care about them compared to like Hina. I don't care about chapter 3. I don't care about Rin. It's like, alright. Chapter 4 felt like the H scenes went for a little too long. It makes sense for the plot, but in terms of entertainment, it gets repetitive. They could have gone a little crazier in the in-between parts. Something like one of the Cartagra's routes where this guy goes insane, and I think that was like the only part I actually did like about that. But actually, no, never mind. I take that back. There's like 3 or 4 parts, but still, it would have been great if it was in criminal board. It is not. Overall, I still dislike the episodic format. It works, but that's because it was forced to work. It's basically the ladder structure, but forces you to pay more. The characters get only a little bit of attention until their episode, and then there's like a side note after their episode is done. They're not completely gone this time around, and they have their own important roles to do, but the format fucks up any normal cohesion. It's why Tatsuya works well, since he can get in and leave whenever he wants and is natural. In a normal title, a lot of these characters would have been going in and out a lot. Hina would probably take them more screen time throughout because like she feels like the main character. But it's like, hey, Meryl here and there, it wouldn't be all in chapter 3 instead of like, hey, 80% chapter 3 and 10% or 15% chapter 2 and like barely anything in chapter 4. She'd be everywhere. Same thing with Rin and same thing with Kodoko, whatever her name is, right? And it's like, it kind of sucks because of that, but it also makes sense. They still have their like defining parts of what they're supposed to be doing, but then they're just gone again. It's like, all right, that's the tool, that's what you're going to be used for, and that's it. This is more like very down-to-earth approach where shit doesn't pay off like they expect it to, instead of like some really campy hype like Face Off, except I really like Face Off. And I'd say it was the right call, but at the same time they did leave some crumbs here and there to show that, hey, maybe what you were thinking was going to happen, but it's behind the scenes and it's going to be revealed later on. It's just that nothing came out of it. It's something you'd seen in the old Loose Boy titles, and technically there's something like that in here, but instead of something totally new, something I've already experienced, so the impact was a little lower for me. It was like, well, I've already seen this type of thing before. It doesn't really excite me. I'm giving it a 7. I'd say the first one is like a low 8 because I wasn't a fan of the main character, but everything else, like the setup, was really well done, and his development is part of the ongoing story, and he gets a lot better in chapter 2, which I also gave a low 8, but for different reasons. It's more on that it was going on the coattails of the first one, to the point that I want to say that the first 2 were really well done, and it was using the same components and just refining it. Chapter 3 and 4 are around the 6. I think people actually really like Chapter 3 a lot. It has a lot going on for it, but in terms of characters, I didn't really get into it. I feel like people would say this chapter is the only one that's like an 8 and the rest are like 7 or lower. It's also the start of when the cast is no longer in their element. They're in the unknown territory most of the time and shit is always going down. So it's entertaining, but considering I was expecting like a certain scenario, I could tell that it wasn't going down that route. So it was a fun time of me saying like, oh no, they're fucking it up every half hour, because they kind of were. I think the title would have been better as 2 parts instead of 4. There were times that I felt like parts were getting padded out to hit like a minimum amount of time. Like the first combo could have been like 8 or 9 hours, and the second combo could have been like 5 to 6 hours. There's a lot of times where I'm like, you're really just wasting time here because you don't want your finale to be like 2 hours long. And like I said before, padding aside, it would feel like one would be on the safer end and the second would be on the unknown territory, and they would have crossed the borderline because of that. It's like, it would make sense. So the spoilers will be mainly on Hina. She's one of the main focuses in chapter 1, and she's important throughout the whole title. Like, yeah, she's bubbly and she's getting into like Itsuki's out of a shell. She's good with people, but also doesn't want to be too attached with anybody. Even Rin, who's pretty prickly, is pretty nice to her. It's for some reason a little bit different with Itsuki, but the idea is that like, hey, she can read people, and I guess she senses something different with Itsuki, and so just a little bit different, so she's cool with him. Anyways, near maybe around the last hour of chapter 1, the title shows that there's a lot more going on with Hina, and she could be like running the whole show if she actually wanted to, but that's like Tatsuya's job. And a good part of that is because the family is straddled to some massive debt, and all she wants is like a normal life, and she'll be like, she wants to be a cook or like a baker chef, I forgot what it is. But the thing is like, yeah, she doesn't feel like doing that. And the thing is, throughout the chapters, you can tell everything would be crashing down if she wasn't around. Sure, Rin is smart, but she doesn't have the charisma or even like the balls to go all in. Tatsuya is still kind of a grunt as well, and it's to the point you can think she's manipulating a lot more than what's being shown to the reader. So at chapter 2 or at the latest somewhere like in the early of chapter 3, I was thinking she'd either going to like betray Itsuki, where she shows up as like a 3rd or technically a 4th faction, or if they're trying to be a little bit nicer, goes with a different faction to save like Itsuki from going down this current path or something, or do like the classic where she dies and that'll put a fire under Itsuki's ass to do something else. And it was the 3rd one. It's the most down-to-earth choice, where it leads to showing that like, hey, going through all this illegal shit wasn't worth it. Kind of like how they made Arnold the good guy in Terminator 2. A lot of times people don't want others to root for the bad guy, I guess. Basically, Hina becomes soup. She dies and she becomes soup. So by the end of chapter 3, I was just saying they fucked up. It's going to be boring. And it wasn't. It was still written well, but also nothing surprising. But I was going through some denial, wondering if they're going to do some asshole and say Hina didn't die because all you saw was soup and not the act of her becoming soups. Like, hey, maybe. So she'd show up like and mentally break Itsuki, and I feel like an asshole because I just want to be mean to Itsuki for some reason, where she shows up again and she's like, see how badass you became? And she's like, wow, what a bitch. And it'll be great, but nothing happens at that. It was never going to happen. Nothing there was being written in the last chapter to handle that, right? But it would be funny and be a different loose boy twist instead of like going, haha, I was only biding my time and pretending I was a super junkie for the last couple of days. I was lying, and that's how I win. It's like, all right, it's fine, but I've seen this before. And part of that is because you already get the final twist that Itsuki doesn't die and Ren's doing like, oh, you crazy son of a bitch, you did it. So why couldn't there be a second call where it's just Hina congratulating Itsuki in the last like 10 seconds like, hey, you survived. It'd be stupid and it'd be something to talk about and it'd be legendary, but it's like, oh no, she's still dead. It's like, oh, so it's boring. Nice, it's all down to earth, and that's all it is. So that's it for this one. I finished 6th long. I remember saying like, oh, I was like 70% done. I was not. I was like halfway through. That's done. I'm reading the Verse Evermore fan disc. It's very long. I'm also reading the Shoot Order thing, which is not as long. And I think I picked the worst route for the first one. Holy shit, it was kind of bad. It was like I was playing some mobile games for some stupid reason. So I don't know which one will be the next one. I'll see, I guess. It's probably going to be Futamai Renai. I have it done. I just have to do the audio. And since the new one's coming out in November, I think, because like, I might as well put this out before that one came out.